Welcome back to our channel World of Coins, the place where we uncover hidden treasures in your coin collection. Have you ever wondered if that old coins could be worth thousands or even millions? Well, today's your lucky day. We're diving into some of the rarest and most valuable US coins that might be sitting right under your nose. Let's jump in and see if you've got a fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 1. If you've ever emptied your pockets or checked the change tray in your car, chances are you've come across a simple copper coin, a Lincoln 1-cent penny. Most of us look at it and think nothing more than its face value. But what if I told you that one of these common coins, specifically one from the year 1963, could be worth a small fortune today? That's right, a coin you might overlook every day could actually be a hidden treasure in your hands. The United States has a long and fascinating history of minting coins, and the Lincoln penny stands as one of its most iconic symbols. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin broke tradition. For the first time, the image of a real person appeared on circulating U.S. coinage. The choice of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in American history, was no accident. He symbolized strength, unity, and the American spirit, values that were deeply meaningful at the time and still are today. By 1963, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over half a century. The coin minted that year featured the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, are subtly inscribed at the bottom of Lincoln's shoulder on many coins, a detail often missed by casual observers but loved by collectors. On the reverse, you'd find the classic image of the Lincoln Memorial, which had replaced the earlier wheat ears design in 1959. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was the work of Frank Casparo, and it remained a staple until it was changed again in 2009. Now, let's talk about the metal. The 1963 Lincoln penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. These coins are heavier than today's pennies and have a distinct reddish tone when preserved well. Over time, they can darken and change hue depending on how they were stored or handled. But that unique composition has helped these coins endure the test of time, and made certain variations incredibly valuable. Here's where things get really interesting. Not every 1963 penny is the same. While millions were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, some were produced with minor, yet crucial, errors. These could include double dies, off-center strikes, and variations in the mint mark. Some even have an overstruck date or other anomalies that occurred during the minting process. To the untrained eye, these may seem like imperfections. But to coin collectors, they are golden opportunities, rare traits that can turn a 1-cent coin into a collector's dream. One such example of value lies in what's called a proof coin or a high-grade specimen. These are coins that were never meant to be spent. They were struck multiple times with polished dies on specially prepared planchets, giving them a stunning mirror-like finish. If a 1963 penny was preserved in pristine condition from the day it was minted, without even a fingerprint on it, it could command serious attention in the collector market. The grade of the coin, whether it's a 60, 65, 67, or higher on the Sheldon scale, can make all the difference in the world. Just 1 point higher in grading can raise the value of a coin dramatically. Imagine finding a penny that's been sitting untouched in a drawer for decades. No scratches, no blemishes, no loss of shine. To most people, it's just an old coin. But to a trained appraiser or collector, it might be a rare gem. Some lucky individuals have found pennies with a faint doubling of the image, especially on Lincoln's face or the lettering of the motto, "In God We Trust." That doubling, called a double die error, is one of the most sought-after features among Lincoln cent collectors. It can skyrocket the coin's value far beyond what anyone might expect. Let's not forget about the coin's mint origin either. The 1963 D penny, minted in Denver, and the 1963 penny without a mint mark, minted in Philadelphia, can each carry different values based on condition, rarity, and specific errors. Collectors pay close attention to these small details, because rarity and demand drive up prices fast in the world of numismatics. So now you might be wondering, how much could a 1963 Lincoln penny actually be worth today? Sure, most are only worth a few cents or $1 or $2 in circulated condition. But a select few, preserved in mint state or with rare minting errors, have stunned collectors and buyers at auctions. In fact, one particularly rare 1963 Lincoln cent, in exceptional condition with a high-grade and verified unique error, has fetched the astonishing value of $155,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A coin that was once worth just a penny, a single cent, sold for a life-changing six-figure sum. That's the magic and mystery of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. So the next time you find yourself holding a handful of change, take a moment to look a little closer. That humble little penny with Abraham Lincoln's face could be more than you think. It could be a forgotten relic of American history, or the key to a small fortune hiding in plain sight, and who knows? Maybe your next penny could be the one that's worth $155,000. Top 2. Have you ever looked closely at the coins rattling around in your pocket or tucked away in a jar at home? What if I told you that one of the most common coins in American history, the Lincoln 1-cent penny, could actually be a rare and valuable collectible? Specifically, the 1966 Lincoln penny. To most people, it's just a simple copper coin. But to collectors, it holds a surprising and fascinating story, and in some cases, a value you would never expect. Let's dive deep into the world of coins, history, and the secrets behind this seemingly ordinary 1-cent piece. The United States has been minting pennies for over 2 centuries, but few have captured the imagination of collectors quite like the Lincoln cent. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first American coin to feature a real historical figure. That decision alone marked a turning point in U.S. coinage, moving away from symbolic figures and embracing actual leaders of the past. By 1966, the Lincoln penny had been in circulation for 57 years. The country was in the midst of rapid social and political change. The Vietnam War was escalating, the civil rights movement was in full swing, and the U.S. Mint was working hard to meet the increasing demand for coinage. During this time, the penny remained one of the most commonly produced coins in the country. But not every penny minted in 1966 was created equal. Now, let's talk about the design. The obverse, or front side, of the coin still featured the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. It's a design that had become familiar to generations of Americans. The reverse side, however, showed the Lincoln Memorial, a structure that stands as a tribute to unity, democracy, and one of the nation's most beloved presidents. This design was introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and was created by Frank Gasparo. But what makes the 1966 Lincoln penny so interesting isn't just its look, it's what lies beneath the surface. That year, the U.S. Mint was dealing with a national coin shortage, so some unusual steps were taken in the minting process. For instance, coins struck in 1965, 1966, and 1967 did not carry a mint mark, that little letter you usually see below the date, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. The decision to omit mint marks was made to discourage coin hoarding, which had become a major issue due to rising metal prices and growing collector interest. As a result, every 1966 penny, whether it was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, appears identical, with no mint mark at all. That alone makes these coins unique. But what truly excites collectors are the rare errors and variants that slip through the cracks during production. Some 1966 Lincoln pennies were struck off-center, while others show evidence of doubling, where parts of the design, like the date, the lettering, or even Lincoln's profile, appear to have been stamped twice slightly out of alignment. These double-die errors are among the most sought after in the coin world. Others may have unusual planchet flaws, clipped edges, or even misaligned dies, all of which can significantly increase a coin's value if authenticated. And then there's the matter of condition. The vast majority of 1966 pennies are worn from decades of use. But a select few have been preserved in extraordinary condition, uncirculated and untouched, stored in rolls or mint sets, or even carefully protected by collectors for generations. These high-grade coins are graded by professional services on the Sheldon scale, with mint state grades like MS-65, MS-66, or higher commanding serious interest. The sharper the strike, the shinier the surface, and the fewer blemishes it has, the more it's worth. In fact, one of the biggest surprises with the 1966 Lincoln cent came when collectors discovered a rare specimen in mint condition that showed an exceptional double die strike, coupled with perfect preservation and luster. It was a jaw-dropping find, the kind of coin that can turn a hobby into a headline. So here's the burning question: how much could a single 1966 penny actually be worth today? While most examples are worth only their face value or perhaps $1 or $2 in decent shape, there are a few rare, high-grade examples with dramatic minting errors that have stunned the collecting world. In one documented case, a pristine 1966 Lincoln penny, featuring a rare error and preserved in top mint state condition, sold for an eye-popping $145,000. That's right. A coin worth just 1 cent when it was minted more than half a century ago ended up commanding a six-figure price. It's hard to believe, but in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, these kinds of surprises are not only possible, they're part of what makes the hobby so addictive and exciting. So the next time you find a penny from 1966 in your change or stumble upon an old jar of coins tucked away in a drawer, take a moment to look a little closer. That tiny coin could hold more than just a picture of a president. It might hold a story, a mystery, or even a life-changing value, because in the right hands and with the right features, a humble 1966 Lincoln 1-cent penny could be worth $145,000. Top 3. Take a second and think about the coins that pass through your hands every day. Most of us don't give them a second thought. A penny is just a penny, right? But sometimes, in the most unexpected places, history hides in plain sight. A simple coin, small, copper, and often overlooked, might be more than just spare change. It could be a rare piece of American history, and in some cases, a small fortune. That's exactly the case with the United States Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1971. Let's go back in time for a moment. The year was 1971. America was deep in the Cold War. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, and NASA was continuing to explore the mysteries of space. The culture was shifting, music was evolving, and the economy was adjusting to a new era. Amidst all of this change, millions of Americans continued to go about their daily lives, buying groceries, filling gas tanks, and paying with coins, including the humble penny. The Lincoln penny had already been around for more than 60 years by then. Introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin was revolutionary. It was the first time a real person, and not just a symbolic figure like Liberty, appeared on a circulating American coin. Abraham Lincoln, the president who led the nation through its greatest trial, became a permanent fixture in the pockets of Americans from coast to coast. By 1971, the penny was still going strong. The obverse of the coin, the side with Lincoln's profile, remained nearly unchanged from Victor David Brenner's original design. The words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1971 were crisply struck around Lincoln's enduring image. But the reverse side still featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been added in 1959, created by Frank Gasparo to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. If you look closely, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a detail that connects this small coin to a grand monument in Washington, D.C. Now, let's talk about what the coin is made of. The 1971 Lincoln penny is composed primarily of copper, about 95%, with a small balance of tin and zinc. These pennies are noticeably heavier than the modern zinc-based ones we see today. That copper content alone makes these older pennies more interesting to collectors and investors. But metal alone isn't what makes some of these coins so valuable. The real magic comes down to rarity, condition, and, in some cases, minting mistakes. Millions of Lincoln cents were minted in 1971 across 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia minted coins had no mint mark, while Denver pennies featured a small D, and San Francisco pennies carried an S. Most of these coins are common, but some carry unique characteristics that set them apart from the rest. One of the most famous and highly sought-after variations from 1971 is the double die error, especially those found on the Philadelphia Mint coins. This happens when the die used to stamp the coin accidentally strikes the metal twice, but slightly misaligned. The result? Visible doubling of the lettering, particularly in phrases like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even the date itself. These doubling errors are not only rare, they are absolutely thrilling for collectors to find. A clearly double-die penny from 1971 can bring serious money at auction, depending on its condition, but doubling isn't the only thing to look out for. Some 1971 pennies also have other striking errors, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet, which means a penny might have been mistakenly minted on a dime blank or other metal. These errors are extremely rare, but when authenticated, they become the crown jewels of a collector's hoard. Condition plays a massive role too. Most coins that have circulated for decades are scratched, worn, or discolored. But occasionally, a few are discovered in brilliant uncirculated condition. These are coins that were never spent, preserved in original mint rolls or special collector's sets. When one of these rare coins shows up with a perfect strike, bright luster, and no signs of handling, its value multiplies fast. Then there's the grading scale. Professional coin grading services use a numerical system, from 1 to 70, to determine the quality of a coin. A penny graded MS 65 or higher is considered a high-end collectible. But an MS 67 or MS 68 penny with a rare error? That's where things get truly exciting. Add in the fact that some 1971 pennies were specially struck as proof coins, with ultra-sharp details and a mirror-like finish, and you've got even more opportunities for rare and valuable discoveries. Now, let's pause for a moment and ask the question everyone wants answered. Just how much could a 1971 Lincoln penny actually be worth today? It might seem impossible to believe, but among the countless 1971 pennies out there, a few have sold for staggering amounts. When you combine a dramatic double-die error with top-tier preservation and an impressive mint state grade, you get a coin that stuns even the most seasoned collectors. In one remarkable case, a 1971 Lincoln penny, preserved in nearly flawless condition and showing a clearly visible error, sold for an incredible sum of $125,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, meant for everyday use, ended up becoming a six-figure collector's item. And it could happen again. That's the thrill of numismatics, the world of coin collecting. You never know when a forgotten piece of pocket change might turn out to be a hidden treasure. So the next time you get change at a store or clean out that old coin jar at home, don't just toss the pennies aside. Look closely. You might be holding a piece of history, or something worth far more than anyone ever expected. Because that 1971 Lincoln 1-cent penny in your hand, if it's the right one, it could be worth $125,000. Top 4. Imagine holding a piece of American history right in the palm of your hand, not in a museum or behind glass, but in the form of a simple coin, passed through generations, exchanged for coffee or candy, and forgotten in drawers or jars for decades. Now imagine that very coin, specifically a 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny, being worth far more than you ever thought possible. Not a few bucks, not even a few hundred, but a life-changing sum. Could such a tiny, ordinary coin really hold that kind of value? The answer might surprise you. Let's take a step back in time. The year is 1973. America is in a time of great transition. The Vietnam War is still capturing headlines, Watergate is brewing quietly in Washington, and gas prices are beginning to creep upward, foreshadowing an oil crisis. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint is steadily doing its job, striking coins for everyday transactions, keeping the economy moving. One of those coins, the humble Lincoln penny, the Lincoln cent, had already become an American icon by this time. First issued in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was a turning point in U.S. coinage. Never before had a real person, especially a former president, been featured on circulating coins. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln, with his thoughtful gaze and fine detail, has stood the test of time, remaining on the obverse side of the penny to this very day. In 1973, the front of the penny still featured Lincoln's profile, along with the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year, of course, 1973. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stretched across the coin, an image introduced in 1959 to replace the original wheat ears design. Look closely, and you'll even see the seated statue of Lincoln within the memorial, a testament to the coin's intricate design. But the real magic behind the 1973 penny lies not just in its history or design, it's in what collectors have discovered in a few rare examples. First, consider the composition: 95% copper, 5% zinc. These coins have weight, color, and richness that modern zinc-based pennies just don't have anymore. And because of their high copper content, many of these pennies were later hoarded or melted for scrap when metal values rose. But the ones that survived, especially in pristine condition, became collectors' gold. 3 mints produced pennies in 1973, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S. Most of these were mass-produced, ordinary coins. But as any seasoned coin collector will tell you, it's not the quantity that matters, it's the quality, and the quirks that a few extremely rare 1973 pennies are known for striking errors. One of the most notable and valuable varieties is the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin hits the blank more than once, but slightly off alignment. The result is doubled lettering, especially visible in God We Trust, Liberty, and the date. When this kind of doubling is clear, strong, and verified by grading authorities, it instantly catches the attention of collectors nationwide. There are also off-center strikes, where the image on the coin is visibly misaligned, and clipped planchets, where the coin was improperly cut and appears to have a bite taken out of it. Some 1973 Lincoln cents were even struck on foreign planchets or blanks intended for dimes, which makes them even more unique and valuable. These kinds of errors are rare, but they do happen, and when they do, collectors are willing to pay big money. Another key factor in a coin's value is condition. Over the years, most pennies become scratched, discolored, or worn from everyday use. But some coins, especially those kept in rolls, sets, or special collector packaging, have survived in near-perfect shape. These are known as uncirculated or mint-state coins. They show full detail, original luster, and no signs of wear. Grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate these coins using the Sheldon scale, with MS 65 and above considered investment grade. A 1973 Lincoln penny with a rare error and a high mint state grade can easily skyrocket in value. And when a coin features both, a major error and perfect preservation, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Even the San Francisco minted proof pennies from 1973 are worth watching. These coins were never meant for circulation. They were specially struck using polished dies and planchets to create ultra-shiny, mirror-like finishes. Although they were sold in collector sets, sometimes these coins get separated, lost, or rediscovered. When a proof penny is found with a rare variation or in perfect condition, it can command jaw-dropping prices at auctions or private sales. So now, we come to the question everyone wants answered: how much could one of these 1973 Lincoln 1-cent pennies be worth? For the average circulated 1973 penny, the value might be 1 or 2 cents, maybe a few dollars if it's in good shape. But for the extraordinary ones, the ones with rare errors, pristine condition, or historical uniqueness, the price can be far higher. In fact, a 1973 Lincoln cent, preserved in exceptional mint condition and featuring a remarkable double die error, stunned collectors when it sold for a staggering $115,000. That's right. A coin designed to buy a piece of gum or sit unnoticed in your pocket ended up selling for an amount that could buy a brand new car, or even a house in some parts of the country. All because someone took the time to look, to examine, and to recognize its true value. So the next time you're digging through loose change, flipping through a jar of coins, or sorting through an old collection from your grandparents, don't overlook that simple copper penny from 1973. Because hidden in its tiny frame could be a piece of American history, and maybe even a fortune waiting to be found. After all, that small coin in your hand just might be worth $115,000. Top 5. Every once in a while, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. In a world where we often overlook the smallest details, sometimes it's the smallest things that carry the most value, quite literally. One of the most overlooked yet powerful pieces of American history might just be sitting at the bottom of your change jar. We're talking about the Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1980, a coin that millions of people have spent, dropped, saved, or forgotten. But within those millions, a few rare gems are worth far more than anyone could ever imagine. Let's rewind to 1980. The United States was facing the dawn of a new decade. It was the final year of Jimmy Carter's presidency, and America was still wrestling with inflation, high interest rates, and political unrest abroad. The Cold War simmered in the background. Meanwhile, pop culture was shifting, from disco to the rise of new wave music and early video games. In the middle of all this transformation, the U.S. Mint continued its unshaken tradition, producing currency that would circulate in the daily lives of every American. Among the coins minted that year, the Lincoln cent remained a fixture, unchanged in purpose but quietly evolving in significance. By 1980, the Lincoln penny had already been around for over 70 years. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was revolutionary as the first U.S. coin to depict a real historical figure rather than a symbolic image like Liberty. The obverse, or front, of the coin continued to feature Lincoln's sharp profile, designed by the talented Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can still be found subtly at the base of Lincoln's shoulder, a nod to the artist's lasting legacy. The words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year, 1980, wrap around the portrait, a simple, elegant design that has endured for generations. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the reverse side features the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Look close enough, and you'll spot something remarkable, a tiny outline of the seated Lincoln statue inside the memorial, a subtle but powerful detail that connects the coin to one of the most iconic landmarks in Washington. In 1980, the Lincoln penny was still made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a classic composition that gave it that warm, reddish tone and a satisfying weight. It wouldn't be until 2 years later, in 1982, that the U.S. Mint would switch over to primarily zinc coins due to rising copper prices. This makes the 1980 penny part of the final chapter in the era of solid copper cents, a fact that collectors certainly appreciate. Now, let's talk about mints. In 1980, Lincoln cents were struck in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. While billions were made, not all coins are created equal. Most are common, yes, but some were struck with errors, unusual characteristics, or survived in such perfect condition that they have become highly desirable among collectors. One of the key features collectors hunt for in the 1980 penny is minting errors. These can happen during the striking process and result in noticeable anomalies that increase a coin's value dramatically. Among these are double die errors, where the die strikes the coin more than once in slightly misaligned positions, creating a visible doubling effect on the lettering or numbers. If you've ever seen a coin where Liberty or the date appears blurry or shadowed, you might just be looking at a double die, and that could be worth far more than face value. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted, and die cracks, where imperfections in the die create raised lines across the coin's surface. Some coins have been discovered with missing layers, clipped planchets, or even struck on foreign blanks, all of which raise the rarity and the price. Condition is another major factor. Most coins in circulation show signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, loss of detail. But when a 1980 penny is found in mint state condition, especially at grades like MS 65 or higher, its value can skyrocket. These are coins that have never been used in everyday commerce. They've been preserved, protected, and often come from unopened rolls, bags, or collector sets. Their surfaces are clean, their edges sharp, and their color vibrant. There are also proof coins from 1980, struck at the San Francisco Mint. These coins were not meant for everyday use but were instead produced with specially polished dies and planchets to create mirror-like finishes and sharp detail. Proof pennies are often stunning to look at, but occasionally, even they show unique variations or errors that elevate them to must-have status in numismatic circles. But here's where things get truly exciting. Once in a while, a 1980 Lincoln penny surfaces that checks all the boxes. It has a rare minting error, is in near flawless condition, and is authenticated by professional grading services. These coins don't just appeal to casual hobbyists, they become the centerpiece of serious collectors' portfolios. They generate buzz at auctions. They spark bidding wars. They become legendary. So now comes the question you've been waiting for: how much could a seemingly ordinary 1980 Lincoln penny be worth? Believe it or not, one of these extraordinary 1980 pennies, featuring a dramatic error, stunning condition, and authenticated high-grade preservation, once sold for a jaw-dropping $100,000. Yes, a single copper penny, made for daily transactions, originally worth just 1 cent, ended up commanding a 6-figure price tag. All because of its rarity, condition, and the fact that it stood out from the billions of coins just like it. And this is why coin collecting never ceases to amaze. You never truly know what's hiding in plain sight, whether it's in your pocket change, a forgotten drawer, or a childhood coin collection stored away in a shoebox. The 1980 Lincoln penny reminds us that even the smallest things can hold the greatest surprises. So next time you come across a penny from 1980, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Inspect the date. Examine the details. Because if you happen to be holding the right one, that simple coin could be worth $100,000.